All right, so I would say let's get started. Let's get underway here. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today on our webinar. Very excited to have a good participation again, and glad you could make it. And hopefully you get some value out of this webinar that we're having here for you. First of all, for those of you that do not know me, my name is Klaus Hertel. I look after partnerships and alliances here at PortaOne. And I'm very excited today that I'm joined by our partners, Nick and Devrin from Boom. And I'll let Nick and Devrin introduce themselves briefly, and then they'll obviously jump on later on in the second section. So what do we have planned for you today? So here's what we want to share with you. Obviously, you've seen the announcement. So first of all, we'd like to introduce why we thought it would be helpful to plan this webinar, what we hope you get out of it. We do want to briefly cover PortaOne iPaaS because it will be the main delivery mechanism for these add-ons that we're looking at. And then I'll let Nick and Devrin introduce Boom to you and what they have, what we believe will enable you to be more successful and increasing your VAS revenues. So specifically, obviously, you've seen the Teams and the video conferencing add-ons that Boom has developed. And towards the end, we will also then take a look at what other add-ons we're thinking about launching, and a Q&A at the very end that will hopefully allow you to ask your questions based on the webinar's content. All right, so let's get started. So first of all, in order to kind of set the stage, we at PortaOne, we always aim to obviously give you as our customers all the tools that you need to address the demand that you see in the market. So we want to help you compete. We want to enable you to succeed. And UCaaS has obviously been a major factor over the last few years, because in communications, I think, or UCaaS specifically, I think it addresses a core human need to obviously communicate, and the businesses likewise. So if you were to ask me how I would define UCaaS, is for me, it's simply tools and ways to make communication feel more natural. And I think the Microsoft Teams connector and the video conferencing portion is a very important part of that. Secondly, why this webinar now? Obviously, with the transition to work from home for many businesses, for many people around the world, which was, I think, coming regardless, but obviously the pandemic has, I think, made that transition to work from home much more quicker. So a lot of people around the world, I think, started looking at how they can maybe move beyond simply phone calls and make their work more efficient. So I think that's where these tools and the demand really has increased and taken off. And thirdly, I do want to, even at this stage, briefly cover, now PortaOne has always developed a lot on our own, and we've given you the tools that you need to succeed. But of course, resources are always limited. And so we've taken now a step with our move to microservices that you may or may not be aware of. It now gives us a very good opportunity to have or to realize our vision of building a very open and flexible platform for others to also contribute, and to have add-ons and plugins very naturally add value to the core platform. So this is what we're trying to do, and that's why we've decided for this specific items like Teams connector and video conferencing to partner with Boom instead of developing it ourselves. It doesn't make sense to reinvent the wheel. So we do see this as a collaborative effort, and you know, anyone that has these sort of very valuable add-ons that work complement our platform very nicely, I think it makes a lot of sense to partner in this sense. So let's take a quick look at the two items, the two parts that we want to talk about today. So one is the Microsoft Teams connector, one is the video conferencing. So for Teams, I'm sure you're all aware of the massive growth that Teams has seen over the last year or two. And it is a bit challenging. I've seen in the conversations that I had with customers, on one hand, you're almost competing with Teams, but in our view, it's actually much better to view it as an opportunity and to see how you can leverage that massive subscriber base. And we do feel, especially with this add-on that Boom has and makes now available to you, we're giving you the ways and means to do that, to leverage and to build on Teams' massive subscriber base. And with the video conferencing, I think it's always obviously been around. I personally admit I never, for instance, liked video calls, but this year has really changed, and I think it adds to communication, and I think there's definitely a place for it. And obviously video conferencing, or video as a medium in general, is growing as well, with on the entertainment side with Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and so on, and on the business side, obviously for conference calls. So we want to give you a great white label tool that you can sell to your customers and hopefully give them the tools that they need. So these webinars are always, or can be oftentimes, a bit of a one-way street where you know, me and Nick and Devrin will talk what's available and so on. So we want to change that up a little bit, and we have a live poll that where we would like to ask you questions. So I'm going to launch the poll now, and if you don't mind, it would be great if you could participate in the poll here. So you should see a pop-up now for answering the question. Okay, answers are trickling in. Thank you so much for participating. It's much appreciated. And just to let you know, the answers are anonymous, so we don't know how you're answering, but it does give us a good idea how we believe, or whether our beliefs and yours are aligned. So it is very useful for us to see what kind of responses we're getting. And we'll obviously share these responses with you with the recording next week. Okay, so we have a good amount of people that have voted. Very much appreciated. Thank you so much. So I'm going to end the poll now, and we'll continue onwards with our presentation. Okay, there was one more that came in. All right, there we go. Great, thanks again for participating in that. And I think, very briefly looking at it, it very much reflects what we're thinking. So thanks again for participating in that. Now, when we look at the two add-ons that we want to share with you, so Teams and video conferencing, the delivery mechanism for these add-ons will be PortaOne iPaaS, and we've talked about iPaaS over the last 6 months quite often. And the reason is quite simple. I think we're very excited about the possibilities, that we're very excited about the agility and flexibility that we can give you with iPaaS. And that's why I think we've simply been talking about it so much. So for this presentation, for this webinar, where we mainly want to cover Teams and video conferencing, I really only want to cover the basics. So when we talk about iPaaS, there are two parts to it. So the first part is the add-ons and modules marketplace. So this is where Teams and the Teams connector and the video conferencing will be launched on. And so this is basically a containerized collection or catalog of add-ons, and that we're making available to every PortaOne customer, regardless of the maintenance release they're on. So this is one of the main benefits there, that you don't have to upgrade your maintenance release in order to leverage these add-ons. And one small sneak peek into the future, this diagram obviously still shows that the PortaOne development team is developing this new functionality, but in the very near future, we will also have third parties contributing some of these modules, as we've obviously seen now with Boom too. And the second part of iPaaS, as you might have seen also, is the iPaaS workflows. And that's our low-code data transformation and integration platform with Dell Boomi. So where you get a sub-account of Dell Boomi, and you can, in a non-development, low-code visual way, integrate your platforms that you have, such as Portabilling, your CRM, your accounting, and so on. So this is really what we mean when we talk about iPaaS, so these two portions. But now let me be quiet for a moment, and let me pass the microphone and the control over to Nick, and he will introduce Boom to you.
Thank you, Klaus, and good morning, afternoon, and evening to everybody, wherever you are in the world. At the moment, I'm Nick Birtwistle. I'm CEO of Boom, and I'm joined by Devon Jacali, our CTO. So my job for the next 10-15 minutes or so is to walk you through Boom and the products that we've designed in conjunction with PortaOne. I'll take all the easy questions, and throw any technical or hard questions at the end. I'll try and sidestep those, I'm afraid, into my colleague Devon. So let me start by just giving you a little bit of an overview in terms of Boom. We are a PortaOne partner in the UK. We are a UK-based UC and SaaS provider. We don't sell direct to clients. We sell through the channel, and we have white-labeled solutions, all based on all based and work together in harmony with the PortaOne platform as well. In terms of our products, we have developed a modular suite of products, and they all interact with each other, they all talk to each other, and they're all designed with PortaOne at its heart. We'll obviously focus on Teams and video conferencing in a second, but just to give you a quick overview in terms of how the products work, we have an advanced analytics suite, which basically aggregates all the call information, the call recordings, into a really simple, friendly user interface. As well as that, we can provide wallboards, we can provide management reports, customizable report writing tool, and real-time alerts. So it really is an advanced set of analytics. And linked into that, as well, is also the ability for us to take a call recording, convert that into text, then apply natural language processing across that to be able to analyze that recording and give what we would call sentiment analysis. So be able to score a call, whether it's positive, negative, neutral, for example. We can also then look for certain warning flags. So if there's sensitive information, credit card information being spoken on a call, and we can also tag topics and marketing keywords and phrases, which is great for customers that want to track their marketing campaigns. So it's much more than a UC product. I like to think of it as a marketing effectiveness tool as well. In addition to that, we have a range of soft clients. We also have advanced call center features such as customizable wallboards, wrap-up codes, for example, and a device as a service product, which enables us to automatically provision devices, which is great for when we're looking at doing base migrations from one platform into PortaOne. And the key thing here really is the solutions that we've designed. They're modular, they can be added in, they are designed to talk to each other, and they're designed also, as I said, with PortaOne at the heart. The focus today, however, of course, is on Teams integration and video conferencing. Two products which pretty much since COVID, really, we've seen a huge requirement from our partners and products that we've been focusing a lot of our energy on right now as well. So before I delve into the first one, which is Teams, let me just share with you a simple set of principles which really are inherent across all the products that we've designed. The first being, it has to be simple. It has to be simple to be charged. We refer to it as a simple per user per month charging mechanic, an OpEx-based model. It needs to be simple for you and your and also your clients as well, so they can understand what the costs of the proposition are going to be as they grow or shrink, as the case may be. Second thing is the ability for you to make this product your own. So whilst we might have the code behind the scenes, ultimately it's your brand. The Boom brand, whilst we're here today, Boom brand is not actually a customer-facing brand. So we don't allow the Boom logo anywhere near any of the customers that use our platform. It's our partner's brand, and that carries through into all of the modules. And finally, feature-rich and disruptive. So there's a lot of competitive propositions out there, as everybody knows, whether that's direct with Microsoft or using the product we're using today, Zoom. It has to be feature-rich, but it has to be disruptive as well. And that's important because that helps you to lock in your products and services. It helps you to entangle your customer more. So if you just remember these principles when we talk through the kind of modules, then hopefully that will help. So let's take a look at Microsoft Teams first. Our Teams integration product, we like to think of it as the best of both worlds when we describe it. We talk about having the best of the Microsoft experience using Microsoft Teams app, but then we talk about linking it to the best in class and the richness of features that you would get from your Portaswitch. And therefore bringing the two together is what we've done. And what this means is for you and your customers can have all the call control, all the call termination, all the handling of the traffic that comes through inbound and outbound comes through your Portaswitch, but ultimately it is managed within the Microsoft Teams client, so through the call app widget that you see on the right. The benefit of that, of course, is the customer is working with you, it's your product. There's no need to take expensive Microsoft calling plans. Everybody needs the Microsoft phone system license. You need that whether you're taking Microsoft product or whether you're taking the integration route that we've got here. But you in effect bypass the Microsoft call controls and the Microsoft calling plans that are there as well. And what this means is, as it's your customer, it's your branding, it's your revenues, everything is locked in. And the beauty of this, of course, is it works across a mix of devices. So unlike Microsoft locking down with Teams or having, if you like, IP phones that need Microsoft Teams soft clients and apps installed on them, you can have a mix of whatever devices that your customer wants. It could be a Teams client for a proportion of your customer, ultimately. It doesn't have to be all. And of course, you can mix. And then, of course, with some of our other products, which more for the future with analytics, for example, everything integrates. So calls, for example, whether they're placed through the Teams client or whatever device it might be, all come into the same place. The other key thing to point out, of course, is you don't have to be a Microsoft Teams partner here. The way this is all zero-touch provisioning, we'll take a look at the kind of technical step in a second. But whether you are a Microsoft provider or not, this is still something that you can get involved in and sell into your customer. Key thing, of course, is the relationship here is with you. So the call control is through Portaswitch, it's through your Portaswitch, but the relationship ultimately is with you and not with Microsoft. So how it works, it's really simple in terms of the actual provisioning process. We try to keep it as simple as possible. We've built in Azure Cloud high availability SBC resilient pair, which basically means we've got a pair of SBCs there, which in effect sit between your Portaswitch. And for some of you, of course, you'll have a single Portaswitch. For others, you'll have a dual resilient switch. And in essence, the traffic that comes through that Portaswitch is linked together to the customer's Teams instance through the SBC. So calls come in from the PSTN network into your switch. They then get routed to the SBC and then routed to the customer's Teams instance. And from there, of course, they will then be taken by the end user on their particular device, which could be a desktop, the desktop app, it could be the smartphone app. And equally, outgoing calls, just a reverse process. So it's very simple, very streamlined. With the Boom Management Portal interface, that enables you, in essence, to automatically provision a customer by providing the token, the Microsoft end user token, into the management portal, and then that in effect will automatically subscribe your end user into the SBC. So again, very simple, very straightforward process. And that in essence is the product itself and how it works. It's a simple per user per month charge. If we've got any questions on the technical setup, I'm sure we can cover those at the end. And if we take a look at the video conferencing side of things, so we call it a kind of a Meet Me product. The version that we have in the marketplace is a product that we've labeled Vipex Live. But this product is fully brandable. So this ultimately will be your product. It's your logo, your branding, your URL as an example. Ignore some of the pictures, some of the characters in here. It does look a bit of a rogues kind of gallery, but the screenshots hopefully bring to life for you how the product looks. We've tried to keep the interface crisp and clean, simple. It can be branded. It's not obvious from this from these screens here, but there is a picture. There's for example, a company brand that you can have as like a wallpaper backdrop on here as well as company logos in various places. The key thing here is we've tried to make it personal. We've tried to look at the user interface and look at how the product works. And as I'm sure you're aware, with Teams, you get a link that you join, and with Zoom, you get a long number with a password, for example. And here we just use meeting room names. We keep it simple. We allow the company to decide what meeting it is, what they want to call it, and people join a room name. And they access that via, of course, a URL, which could be your URL. The authentication is done automatically through your Portaswitch. And that way, when you price this product to a customer, you can price it on a simple per user per month charge, and that is a moderator charge. So there's no charge for guests. Moderators can invite as many people as they want into the meeting. And it's a simple web RTC product, insofar as there's no download required by the end user. It's just a simple link that people can send out, which you can join. And depending upon the screen layout, the theme, if you like, that you choose, and there's lots of end user customization that they can do in here, from how the videos look to the actual, whether you want, for example, grid view, which is what you see on the top left, or whether you have speaker view, which is what you see in the middle center in terms of the bottom, and on the right hand side where there's screen share. And we've also tried to look at how the product works, just from a seamless, just really from the conversational aspect. And one of the challenges I think there are with some of the VC products that are out in the marketplace today are, for example, when we look at screen share, only one person can screen share at a single time. And what you quite often get is dialogue between people saying, can I grab the screen? Can I share the screen now, please? And it disrupts the flow of the meeting. And one of the things we've got here is the ability to have multiple screen shares at a single time. And the user, whoever that user is, can control which screen that they want to view. So you would just simply see multiple screens appear, just like there will be video participants. And every single person can choose which video feed, which screen share that they want to view, which is great if you're trying to compare documents, for example. And you can also pop those, not only can you pop the screen shares out, but you can pop individual people out into into new windows rather. And of course, if your setup now is with multiple screens, then you can drag those videos and put them onto separate screens as well. One of the other things that we quite like is the ability to have multiple video feeds. So again, for recognizing that some people will be working from home, others may still be in an office, and for those that are at home, they might have multiple webcams, but also for those in an office environment, if they're in a rather large room, you can actually have left camera, right camera, front camera, rear camera. So the ability to the ability to be able to look at that kind of feed, bring those in, and control those is there for you. And of course, the level of customization in terms of the number of videos on the screen, the view, how the sound works, for example, what happens when you drag out the view to chat and to raise a hand, for example. You can control and customize what happens down to an individual user level. So that's a kind of a high level overview. I think at this point, I'll see if there's any questions initially on this stage before we pass back to Klaus.
Okay. So it looks like we've already gotten a few questions. What I would propose we do is please feel free, everyone, to post your questions in the Q&A pod that some of you have already found. And we will answer those questions at the very end. I think altogether makes the most sense. So thank you so much, Nick, for presenting that. Very excited to have these tools available to our customers in a wide labeled fashion and in such a simple and transparent way. So before we jump into the Q&A, and I know we've already gotten 6 questions here that we're going to get to in just a minute. I do also want to give you just a very brief sneak peek at some of the additional iPaaS add-ons that we're working on. So Nick has already covered a couple of them, and we've seen demos, and we're very, very excited to bring a few of those to you. With the advanced analytics, with the sentiment analysis, and so on. A reason we chose, obviously, Teams and video conferencing, it was initially the most simple to package up and to have delivered to you, but it won't take us too long a time to deliver also the other modules that Boom has built on top of the PortaOne platform. Now, for us ourselves, for PortaOne, we are actively working with quite a good number of provisioning partners to enhance and to improve the availability of provisioning profiles that are available on the platform. Payment providers is always also requested from our customers. So e-banks, plug and pay. We are obviously aware and already working on supporting SCA for Stripe and others that is necessary in the European Union as of next year, and taxation, for instance. So there are, with the move to microservices in PortaOne and in our platform, where we try to break apart the monolithic large platform that we have into an open, flexible microservices platform. This will enable us to have more and more of these modules and of different types as well. Just as an example, DID providers or on-demand DID providers could be another good candidate for these sort of iPaaS modules. So let's talk about, let's give you a chance. So we do want to give you a chance, obviously, to get your questions in. So what I propose we do is I'll read out the questions and then I'll ask Nick and Devon to cover them. So the first one we have here is whether we mean that Boom SBCs provide direct routing for Microsoft Teams.
Shall I take that, Nick?
Yes. Thanks, Devon.
The answer is yes. It's so Boom SBCs will provide direct routing, but we have tested quite a number of call scenarios, not only to terminate an incoming DIDs, assigning extension numbers to individual team accounts. Putting them into hunt groups at the end of Porta's IVRs, Porta's hunt groups. Calls between a Yealink user and a Teams user, just on-net calls from extension to extension. So it is one step beyond a simple SIP trunk.
Mhm. Okay, great. There is a question, and I was very much expecting that one. What is the maximum number of participants? And before answering, just kind of as a brief summary, or once again, the model will be on a moderator basis. So the module, the add-on, will simply look at the moderators or the organizers or hosts of the rooms that we have, but there is indeed there can be a large number of participants. But Devin, maybe based on your experience on offering the product through your partners, what do you see as the maximum number of participants that can reasonably be expected in these rooms?
Just to clarify, the conferencing solution runs on your network, on the Kubernetes installation. So it is not hosted with us or in the cloud. It's local to you. Some of these elements you will need to decide. It's customizable per environment. We use the limit 16 participants with video conferencing. And the limitation that we found with WebRTC is not on the server side, but on the client side. Rendering 16 videos puts a lot of toll on your PC, on your Mac. This is not the case if you have a powerful machine. Yeah, we decide to set limitation, making sure that all end users can use the maximum number defined by us.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. And Devin, thanks for raising that point. That's absolutely right. So the plan is to have the video conferencing add-on hosted in PortaOne's cloud environment, so in OCI. So you will not have to plan for that locally on premise. But again, it's a discussion for us to have, and that largely determines also the capabilities of the solution and the scale. There is a question on the resolution, 720p or 1080p video conferencing.
Again, this is customizable. It does support 1080p. We have limited it to 720p. If bandwidth, it will downscale according to the user's bandwidth at the receiving end. It doesn't look at CPU usage, resource usage. So trying to render 16 1080p videos, although the user's bandwidth may allow it, again, the processor will struggle with it. So we suggest 720p, but it supports 1080p if you want to limit the groups to a smaller number.
Yeah, okay. Then I would like to, there's a question here on the Teams integration. What regions and countries the SBCs are available, whether it can be local within country, and whether to get express route link to the SBCs from the CSP network.
Right now, the SBCs are hosted in Europe, in Azure. There are plans to host them in different regions if the interest is there. And the express route, we suggest to keep it to Teams from the end user, and then the communication between Teams and the SBC will be on net within Microsoft.
Yeah, okay. So to summarize, yes, multiple regions and countries are definitely will be supported. I mean, obviously PortaOne's customer base is global, so we're very aware of this. So Azure Cloud has a good coverage, and we're making this available as close to you as possible. And express route links will be available between the customer's Teams client and the Teams instance in the Azure Cloud. And then obviously between the Teams instance and the SBCs, as Devin explained, will be the Azure internal link. It's a good point, and actually I think it's worth to quickly talk about this. So there's a comment here that it's ironic that we're talking on Zoom while talking about video conferencing solution, but it's actually quite simple. Zoom does have some good features for webinars, so we felt it is still worth it to host it on this webinar on Zoom, so specifically for Q&A, polling, and that sort of thing. But yes, it's a very good point. But if it was a regular video conference, we definitely would have chosen Boom's product here. Let's see. So there's a lot of questions about the regions, I think, for the SBCs. So I think we covered that. Okay. There's a question, is it possible to do a mix and match of 10 video and 600 audio only streams? So in a sort of a broadcast type of feature.
The moderator can choose to disable or enable participants' videos. This is not done like a webinar in Zoom. It's a manual process. Mm-hmm. So if I was running Boom's video conferencing and I received more attendees than I expected, then I can go in and switch some videos off, helping some of the participants' machines to handle the video streams.
Mm-hmm. Recording the video conference is possible. It's being worked on, correct?
Yes. So we are working on a client-based voice conference recording solution right now. What we have working is a server-based recording solution, but to get the benefit of that, you need to use the analytics add-on, which we haven't talked about in here. Nick has hinted. The client-based recording will record on your machine, and then you'll be able to share the file. The server-based recording, there are benefits to it. Because we support multiple desktop shares, a single video won't represent the experience truly. So you should be able to view the recording by zooming into different desktops live. And to be able to do that, again, you'll need to get the analytics add-on.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. There's one question here about Teams, what type of licenses are required and whether a phone license is required. And yes, you still need a Microsoft phone license. Correct, Devin?
That's correct, yes. Yeah. You don't need the calling plans, but you need the phone license.
Yeah. Sorry, everyone, just trying to go through the questions here. There's a question about what the prerequisites are of Teams user to integrate with PortaOne for direct routing. So I think that goes into the provisioning step here, and the idea is obviously to make this as seamless as possible and almost automatic. So there will be an initial provisioning where the Teams instance is provisioned to use your Portaswitch for inbound, outbound calling. And then, of course, there is the ongoing provisioning of additional Teams customers that want to use the service. And that will be all handled by the individual CSP or customer. So you don't have to worry about when a new Teams client wants to onboard. From the Portaswitch side, all you will have to do is you'll add an add-on, for instance, with the Teams add-on on the Porta billing side, and that will then automatically provision it to the Boom management portal, and there you'll be able to link the specific extensions to the Teams user. Just see here. There's a question on bandwidth requirements, Devrin, for 16 users. Do you have any experience that you can share? So for each client, what bandwidth would they need for 16 users?
It will change according to what resolution video they're using and what if they're using video or voice. On me right now, I don't have the bandwidth requirements, but we use the standard WebRTC protocols. We're not adding anything on top of that. It's, yeah.
Okay, thanks very much. There's one question that's actually just slightly outside, but it was mentioned here in the sneak peek, whether we will offer taxation through CSI or compliance solution. That is actually something that we're currently already working on. So yes, taxation will be something we support through compliance solution. So we're working directly with them to have that available soon. And of course, if you feel we didn't quite capture or answer some of your questions, we still have a bit more time for a couple more, but I just want to give you a heads up if you do want to go into a deeper conversation and get your questions answered, or you feel we didn't have a chance to answer them properly, please contact us at PortaOne, so sales@portaone.com. We'll have that obviously here, so sales@porta.one or sales@portaone.com. Both will work just fine. So please just simply reach out to us and we'll be happy to answer them specifically. Especially about questions about demos and pricing and so on. There's a question here about content delivery network for global delivery, I suppose for video conferencing. I'm not sure that's something Devrin has.
It's hosted in Azure. So yeah. The team SBC integration and video conferencing is hosted with Porta. So
okay, so the SBCs are redundant. They can be made geo-redundant. Although I suppose Devrin, so the dual pair SBCs are in Azure and therefore redundant by Azure's means, correct?
Yeah. So it's the shared IPs. So yeah. It's not geo-redundancy, but in Azure there are multiple SBCs.
Mm-hmm. There's a question whether it's possible to have a video conferencing between Vipex or your video conferencing solution and Teams.
No.
No. Okay. And then maybe a couple more questions. So one is about PowerShell automation, whether that's offered. Is there any PowerShell automation offered or is it manual?
It's automated. So the customer, the end user, would provide a token to yourselves. You would put that token in the Boom management interface, and that token will get information from Teams, the number of end users in there. You select which ones you want to provision and assign them which accounts that you have in Porta. And everything else is automated. No PowerShell scripts needs running with the end user's credentials.
Great, thank you. And there's one question, Nick, most likely to you. Can you explain more about the sentiment analysis?
Yeah, sure. So the sentiment and analysis product takes a call recording. It washes that call recording, as we call it, through natural language processing capability, and it converts it. But the first thing it does, it converts it into text. So you've got a transcription of that particular call recording. Well, then what we do is we put it through natural language processing, and it will basically analyze the call recording. So it looks for keywords and phrases. It looks for words alongside other words. So, for example, the word help could mean multiple things. If I answer the phone, how can I help you? That's reasonably positive. However, if I took a call, for example, and it said, I need some help, then that's less so. So it's able to attribute scores to the conversation, and then it will give you a positive, a mixed, a negative score, for example. In addition to that, what we then do is once we've got that transcription, it gives you the ability to have a really powerful search engine. So you literally could search any call recording for any word or any phrase, super quick. And it will give you just a list of all the calls that have that particular word in. And then we also allow, as part of the example I talked about, where it's more than just a UC product, it starts moving into a marketing effectiveness engine. We use that product to tag marketing keywords as well. So of course you can then, if your customer has a particular new product launch, they can put that word in there, and they can get real-time alerts for when our system detects a word spoken in a particular call recording. So it's quite versatile. It's a plug-in to the analytics product that we have as well.
Great, thanks, Nick. One question, I think it would be helpful about Teams integration. So there is one point raised here for somebody who already has an SBC for enabling direct routing in Teams. What would be the value add of a Boom solution?
Well, I guess from I'll let Devon comment on the technical side, but I think the value add, depending on the solution, I mean, we're aware of a number of Teams direct routing propositions that are out there. Some are simply just an ability for Microsoft Teams to hit the outside world, if you like, to get to the telephony network. They don't support any of the smart call control that, for example, you would have within your Portaswitch, whereas our version does. Secondly, of course, when you start to bring in the future some of the other modules that we have, and the fact that they integrate and talk with each other, it means that actually you can make a phone call in Teams and it will seamlessly pass through into things such as analytics, into Call Insight, for example. So that obviously requires some of the other modules to be added into the partners switch as well. But I think from that perspective, there's different use cases there. And again, I guess depending on the setup, there will be technical considerations. So perhaps the ease of provisioning. We've got a very, as Devon's outlined, a very simple zero-touch provisioning process. Again, I'm aware of other solutions that are out there that are quite complex. Some require quite considerable setup and therefore professional services costs.
Great, thanks. Anything to add you feel different from your end?
It's a good summary, Nick.
Yeah.
I did actually, Klaus, I did spot a question. I can't find it now. It may have been somewhere else or possibly in the chat. There was a question just for clarification around, with Teams integration, does it actually use all the PBX functionality within the Portaswitch? And absolutely, yes, it does. So it bypasses just for clarity, it bypasses Microsoft's product altogether, and everything comes through the Portaswitch. And I think somewhere in there was another question as well, saying, do you have to have video conferencing and Teams together? No, you don't. They are separate. They are separate modules.
Yeah, and also, I saw that question as well. Why would you want to have a video conferencing solution if you have video in Teams? Look at it this way: we want to give you options. You know, you can choose which one you want to offer. If you don't feel there's value add in the video conferencing solution, you're not forced. It's not mandatory, and you're welcome to just use Teams. But there are a lot of CSPs, a lot of our customers around the world who may not be interested in Teams, who don't want to get into that, but need a video conferencing solution. So there's absolute value in having both separately for you to choose what makes most sense to your business. And that's usually the approach that we want to take, is that we want to give you that flexibility. We don't want to lock you in, and you should be able to decide what's best for your business and how you want to offer it.
And I think just on that, Klaus, if I may add, that we have examples of customers using both, specifically because the partner actually quite wants to get the customer into their ecosystem, if that makes sense. Wants to get the partner using a product that's got their brand on it. So yes, they might use Teams, but they might also use the video conferencing product that the partner's got in their brand as well. And of course, the disruptive nature of the price point means that actually it isn't a you can't look at it like the customer's paying twice. They're not at all, actually. And they can drop some Teams users out, of course, if they're doing that as well. So there can be different considerations there.
Excellent. Thank you very much for answering these. I just want to see if we're not missing any. There's a question here whether customers can see live calls on the SBC level, whether there's some sort of portal for that. I mean,
calls are on Porta.
Pardon me, Trevin?
Sorry, the calls are on Porta. So
yes,
it's.
That's what I was just going to say as well. So there are obviously the troubleshooting tools continue to be available in Portaswitch. If you need more advanced troubleshooting and maybe some better visibility to them, there is another partner that we've recently integrated with, Dashbase. You can check those out, dashbase.io. We did a webinar with them earlier in the summer, in June or July. But yes, otherwise the calls will still go through Portaswitch, so you can use the built-in tools there. So I think that's pretty much all for the questions that we got. Thank you so much for attending. Again, if there's any additional questions, if you liked what you've seen, please let us know, and please reach out to us at sales@portaone.com. We'd be happy to have a conversation with you about making this happen, about how to enable this for you. And lastly, we will publish a recording of this webinar for your colleagues that weren't able to attend, or if you'd like to rewatch and make sure you understood things correctly, we'll share the recording with you most likely sometime next week, and with an abstract of the questions that we took and answered as well. So thanks so much for participating, and thanks Nick and Devrin to have joined me on this call here.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Thanks, everyone.